Nothing better than what I got in my mind, which I don't understand. Johnny wanted to put some smile in my mind because he didn't want to go the sides that I didn't want to go to because he didn't want to do what I wanted to do for the money.
He sat down on live television, looked dead into the camera, brought his attorney, had his whole narrative prepared, and told the world the entire thing was fake. AI deep fakes, jealous competition, coordinated attacks from people who want to tear down a self-made success story. That was the frame. That was the message. That was what 30 minutes of Houston television delivered to anyone who tuned in. And the interview was polished. It was strategic. It was emotionally effective. A Vietnamese immigrant who came to America with nothing and built a $20 million empire from a flea market table in Houston, sitting there telling you that the internet is lying about him. That story lands. That story is designed to land. And a big part of it is genuinely true. But here is the problem that nobody in that studio addressed. Not the host. Not the attorney sitting right there on camera. Not Johnny Dang himself. Not once across the entire interview. Nobody asked about the employee. Nobody asked about the man who walked out of that operation in 2021, years before any AI deepfake existed, years before any viral wave, years before any of this became a trending topic, and put his full government name and face on camera and made specific technical allegations about what was going into the pieces being sold to the biggest names in hip-hop. Nobody asked about Plug Geo. And that is the most important detail in this entire story. Because there is a fundamental difference between an AI-generated fake video, which can be dismissed as misinformation, and a named former employee who was inside that building, who handled that product, who saw what was going into those pieces, and went on record about it when there was absolutely no viral wave to ride and nothing obvious to gain. Johnny Dang built a $20 million empire selling diamonds to Travis Scott, Gucci Mane, 21 Savage, Beyoncé. This man's grills have been in more music videos than most artists have albums. He went from a flea market bench in Sharpstown making $100 a month to doing millions of dollars every single month. That story is real. That story is remarkable. That story deserves respect. But real empires do not fall from questions. They fall from unanswered questions that fester. And the biggest question in this entire situation, the one that has been sitting unanswered since 2021, has never received a direct, documented, transparent response. What exactly are people buying when they spend their money at Johnny Dang and Company? By the end of this breakdown, you are going to understand exactly what was said on that TV interview, what was deliberately not said, and why the most important voice in this entire controversy has been buried twice now under narratives more emotionally convenient than the truth. Let us get into all of it. Johnny Dang made a strategic decision about how to respond to the controversy surrounding his name. And the decision itself tells you something important about how seriously he is taking what is being said. He did not post a statement on Instagram. He did not drop a caption on TikTok. He did not go live from the shop floor surrounded by his team and his equipment. He did not release a written press statement through a publicist. He went on television, specifically the Isaiah Factor Uncensored, a real Houston TV platform with a real audience and a real host who knows the community. And he did not go alone. He brought his attorney Colby Holler, who sat right next to him in frame the entire time. Let that decision fully land for a second. When a businessman shows up to address public controversy with his lawyer physically present sitting beside him on television, that is not a casual conversation between a man and his community. That is a prepared, strategically choreographed, legally guided public response. Every word cleared. Every angle considered. Every potential line of questioning anticipated and addressed in a pre-interview preparation session. This was not off the cuff. This was not a man who just wanted to speak his truth openly. This was calculated. And there is nothing wrong with that. Anyone facing the kind of controversy Johnny Dang was facing in March 2026 would and should do exactly the same thing. Get your lawyer. Control the narrative. Choose your platform carefully. The host framed the situation perfectly for Johnny's preferred narrative from the opening seconds, introducing him as the man who built a diamond-studded empire and positioning the entire controversy as AI-powered attacks from competitors trying to tear down a self-made success story. And from the very first question, Johnny came with a specific strategic approach. When asked what his first reaction was to seeing the viral content spreading across social media, he said directly, and I am pulling this straight from the interview, "My first thought is, man, that's so fake, and it not really affect my business because I've seen a couple of things like this been happening in the past." Read that slowly. His first move was to minimize the damage. It is not really affecting my business. He wanted the viewer to understand that these attacks were bouncing off, that the empire was solid, that the haters were failing. But then, almost immediately in the same conversation, he contradicted that minimization. He said, "I believe a lot of people believe on the story and stay away from my business or plan to do something with me might stop doing it. It is because we do millions of dollars every month and it is very hard to predict how it can damage my business." So which version is true? It is not affecting the business? Or people are actively staying away and the financial damage is real and hard to predict? Those two statements cannot both be true at the same time. And that contradiction, sitting right there in the same interview separated by less than 2 minutes of conversation, is the tell. That is a man trying to project confidence on camera while something is genuinely rattling him underneath the surface. And it makes complete sense that it is rattling him. When you are doing millions of dollars a month, every single week that doubt is planted in the market costs real money. Real relationships. Real opportunities that quietly disappear without a word being said publicly. A rapper who was going to fly to Houston for a custom grill commission who sees the controversy and decides to take his business elsewhere. A manager who tells his artist to hold off. A brand deal that gets put on pause. None of that shows up in a headline. All of it shows up in the revenue. Then the host asked whether he thought this was competition or just random haters. And Johnny Dang did not hesitate for even a second. He said, "I think it is part of competition. I believe it is competition." He said it twice. Not once. As a throwaway line. Twice. Deliberately. He was not guessing or speculating. He was pointing at someone. He believed specifically that someone in his industry, a competitor in the Houston or broader hip-hop jewelry space, is behind a coordinated attack designed to look like organic viral outrage. His attorney Colby Holler then stepped in and laid out the legal options clearly and directly, demanding retractions from the content creators who can be identified, escalating to defamation action against anyone they can serve. The attorney said it plainly on camera. This is a defamation case. They are publishing things that are not true. Clearly lies. Malicious intent to harm his business. There are causes of action available for things just like this. On the surface, and I want to be completely fair about this, if we are talking only about the AI deepfake content, that legal argument is completely valid. That framework absolutely applies. If someone is manufacturing synthetic videos of Johnny Dang saying things he never said, doing things he never did, using fabricated audio of his voice and manipulated visuals of his face to deliberately damage his business, that is textbook defamation with malicious intent. The legal path forward on that specific issue is clear and legitimate. But here is what nobody in that studio brought up. Here is the question that was never asked. The conversation that was never had. The name that was never mentioned once across the entire interview. What about Plug Geo? To understand why Plug Joe's allegations matter so much, you need to understand who he actually is. Because his position in this story is categorically different from an anonymous social media account or an AI-generated video or a competitor throwing shade from across town. Plug Geo, real name Jose Mata, was a former employee of Johnny Dang and Company. Not a customer with a bad review. Not a one-time vendor with a grudge. Not someone who met Dang at an event and formed an opinion. An actual inside man. Someone who worked on the floor of that operation. Who handled the product directly. Who understood the production process from the inside. Who was close enough to the actual manufacturing of these pieces to know what was going into them. And in April 2021, years before this AI deepfake era, years before any viral controversy, years before any trending topic involving Johnny Dang's name, Plug Geo went on camera. Not anonymously. Not with his face obscured. Not through a burner account. He put his full face and his government name on it and said what he said directly. There was no wave to ride in 2021. There was no viral moment to capitalize on. The AI deepfake technology that has been flooding social media in 2025 and 2026 did not exist in the way it does now. The controversy that would eventually erupt around Johnny Dang's name had not started yet. Plug Geo was not jumping on a trend. He was not clout chasing an existing news cycle. He stepped forward in a completely different media environment, one where making these allegations publicly would cost him professionally and personally, and he said what he said anyway. That timing matters more than almost any other detail in this entire story, because it is the thing that makes it categorically impossible to fold Plug Joe's allegations into the AI deepfake narrative that Johnny Dang laid out on television. The AI attacks started in 2025 and 2026. Plug Joe's allegations were made in 2021. These are not the same thing. They cannot be collapsed into the same coordinated attack story. And yet, deliberately or by accident, the structure of the TV interview created exactly that collapse. What Plug Geo alleged was specific. It was technical. It was the kind of detail that does not come from someone who is simply hating. It comes from someone who actually knows. He said that Johnny Dang's operation was using CVD diamonds, chemical vapor deposition lab-grown stones, in pieces that were being priced and sold to clients as natural VVS diamonds. Not as a one-time error. Not as a quality control slip. As a practice. He also claimed that he personally had generated over $9 million in revenue for Johnny Dang and Company in a single year. $9 million in production from one craftsman. And that despite that level of contribution, he was denied any meaningful raise. He was making $10 an hour with 2% commission on sales. When he raised the issue internally, Dang offered him $2 extra an hour. He said it himself on camera. What is a $2 raise going to do for me and my kids? So he left. And when he left, he talked. Publicly. On record. With his name attached. Now here is what I need everyone watching to sit with for a real moment. Because this is the most important distinction in this entire situation. There is a fundamental difference between an anonymous social media post designed to go viral and a named former employee making specific technical allegations on camera about the exact product being sold. One is content engineered for the algorithm. The other is testimony from someone with first-hand knowledge who has decided the truth needs to be said even if it costs them something. One can be dismissed as misinformation. The other demands a direct response. And that direct response, specific, named, documented on record, has never come. Now let us talk about what happened in 2025 and 2026. Because the AI deepfake situation targeting Johnny Dang is real. It is documented. And I am not going to pretend otherwise because this channel does not do one-sided storytelling. The number of AI-generated videos online grew from around 500,000 in 2023 to approximately 8 million by 2025. Nearly 900% growth in synthetic media in 2 years. The technology to clone a person's face, voice, mannerisms, and accent has become so accessible and so sophisticated that fabricated videos can be produced quickly, cheaply, and convincingly enough to fool millions of people scrolling through their feeds at 11 o'clock at night. Fox 26 Houston confirmed they ran a specific segment covering the fake videos targeting Johnny Dang, showing clips with fabricated audio and manipulated visuals built to look authentic. That is documented. That is verified. That is a real crisis for any public figure with a brand built on trust and reputation. Think about what that kind of content does to a business like Johnny Dang's. Rappers and athletes do not pick jewelers the way they pick any random vendor. They pick the jeweler. The one their people vouch for. The one with the track record. The one whose pieces they have seen on Travis Scott's wrist in a music video or in Gucci Mane's Instagram. The moment you plant doubt in that ecosystem, you are not just messing with someone's feelings. You are attacking relationships that took decades to build. You are attacking revenue streams that depend entirely on reputation and word of mouth. And the content that was flooding social media was not sloppy. These were not grainy screenshots with obvious bad grammar and obvious fake headlines. Some of these videos were using AI-generated audio and visuals that looked and sounded like the real man. His face. His voice. His mannerisms. His Houston accent. All fabricated. All synthesized. All designed to look credible enough that the algorithm would push them to millions of people who would never stop to verify what they were watching. So when his attorney stood up on that TV interview and said defamation, that is a legitimate legal position. If those content creators can be identified, they should face consequences. Full stop. But here is where it gets genuinely dangerous for the conversation around accountability. And here is the detail that most people covering this story have completely glossed over. Acknowledging the deep fake problem does not erase the employee problem. These are two entirely separate issues. They exist on two completely parallel tracks. The AI videos are one thing. Plug Joe's 2021 allegations are another. And the way the TV interview was structured, whether by design or by the natural gravitational pull of the victimhood narrative, had the effect of collapsing both tracks into one single story. Everything becomes fake news. Everything becomes jealous competition. Everything becomes AI. And once that frame is established in the viewer's mind, anyone who raises the CVD question automatically gets filed under hater, under competition, under part of the coordinated attack. Experts have a documented name for exactly this phenomenon. They call it the liar's dividend. The more deep fakes exist in the information environment, the easier it becomes for real information to be dismissed as fake. The presence of synthetic misinformation creates cover for real accountability to be deflected. Johnny Dang sitting in that studio with that specific narrative in that specific moment in 2026 when the deepfake wave is at its peak, benefits directly from that confusion. Whether he intended that or not, the effect is real and it is measurable. The Plug Geo moment gets buried again. Deeper this time. Under better production value and a more emotionally sympathetic frame. Let us break down exactly what Johnny Dang addressed on that TV interview and what he deliberately did not address. Because the gap between those two things is where the real story lives. What he addressed. The AI deep fake content. The coordinated attack from what he believes is competition. The general claim that his business is being smeared by people making up false stories. The disruption to his reputation and his monthly revenue. His family's reaction to seeing fake videos online. What he did not address. Plug Joe's specific 2021 allegations about CVD diamonds being used in pieces sold as natural VVS stones. Why a former employee with $9 million in production credits left the operation over a $2 raise offer. What specific independent testing protocols exist for the pieces leaving his shop. What documentation is provided to clients confirming the origin and classification of the stones in their pieces. Whether he has ever responded directly to Plug Joe's claims in any verified forum. On the deep fake issue, he pointed fingers specifically at what he called street jewelers. He said they take advantage of the internet, take money from customers, and never deliver product. And when the customer comes back to him, it is too late. That framing is worth examining carefully. It positions Johnny Dang as the legitimate standard of authenticity that fraudsters are trying to steal equity from. It makes him the victim of an industry-wide scam problem rather than a participant in any alleged deception. Which is a very strategically convenient frame if you are simultaneously trying to avoid a direct conversation about what is inside your own pieces. His attorney was clear about the legal path on the deep fake issue. Demand retractions from identified content creators. Escalate to defamation action with documented malicious intent. File against anyone they can identify and serve. All of that is available and legitimate on the AI content front. What his attorney did not do, what no one in that studio raised even once, was address Plug Joe's specific claims directly. The attorney's defamation framework was built entirely around the AI content. The named former employee who went on record in 2021 with inside knowledge was never mentioned, never acknowledged, never addressed. And the culture noticed that. Because real ones always notice what is not said. The FTC recognized the specific problem Plug Geo described back in 2018. They began cracking down specifically on jewelers who were selling lab-grown diamonds without clearly disclosing them as lab-grown to customers. Because the financial fraud potential is not hypothetical. A 2-carat CVD lab-grown diamond costs between $3,000 and $5,000 to produce. A 2-carat natural diamond of comparable grade costs $20,000 or more. If a jeweler charges natural prices for CVD stones on a $300,000 commission, the client just lost hundreds of thousands of dollars in a handshake. The piece looks identical. Photographs identically. Gets celebrated identically. But the moment they try to insure it at stated value or resell it or pass it down, the real number appears. And it is nowhere near what they paid. The FTC has issued warning letters to jewelers who failed to make proper disclosures. Civil penalties are available. Injunctions restricting operations are available. And if documentation was ever falsified, criminal exposure opens up entirely. That is the legal landscape that makes Plug Joe's specific allegations so significant. And it is the legal landscape that a direct on-record response would need to address. Not a TV interview. Not a defamation threat aimed at AI content creators. A direct, documented, transparent response to the specific claims made by a named former employee in 2021. That response has never come. Step back from Johnny Dang specifically and look at what this entire controversy is exposing about the hip-hop jewelry culture as a whole. Because this is bigger than one man and one operation. This is about a systemic transparency problem that the industry has been carefully dancing around for years because the names involved are too big and the relationships are too deep and the money at stake is too significant for anyone to want to be the first one to say it directly. Lil Durk said it publicly without naming names. An Instagram story that circulated everywhere during the controversy wave. Stop buying jewelry without knowing what you are getting into. A lot of pieces floating around out there are either fake or overpriced. Pick one jeweler and stay locked in with them. I am done blaming rappers and athletes for getting played and am now pointing the finger at sellers who are moving product that does not match what the client paid for. Not a single name in that post, but shared almost exclusively in the context of this controversy. Everyone in the culture knew exactly what he was referencing. And coming from Lil Durk, an artist who has made his own significant jewelry moves over the years, it carried weight that a random comment section post never could. Chief Keef made a deliberate public decision that said even more than any statement. After the controversy broke, he drove to K Jewelers in California, not his regular jeweler, not a Dang-affiliated shop, and ran a professional diamond tester on pieces he had already purchased from Johnny Dang. His pendant tested clean. His diamond watch tested clean. Both came back with green results under standard thermal and conductivity checks. Good result for Dang on the surface. But that is not the part of the story that the culture locked into. What had everyone talking was the fact that Chief Keef felt the need to verify at all. He did not reach out to Dang privately for a quiet conversation. He did not go back to the shop for an in-house test. He pulled up to a third-party location in California in public where it could be observed and documented and ran the test where people could see it happen. That deliberate choice to verify publicly rather than privately sent a message that was louder than any post could be. The allegations being raised about Dang's operation were serious enough to act on. Even for a long-time client with zero prior issues with the man. The diamond tester content wave that followed on TikTok and YouTube went on for weeks. Regular people, artists, associates, people from the streets, all pulling out testers and running them over chains, grills, and pendants linked to various jewelers. Results all over the place. Some passing clean. Others generating enough uncertainty to fuel multiple more rounds of commentary. What was happening underneath all of that content was something real. Hip-hop had built an entire culture around jewelry as the ultimate flex, and the entire foundation of that system rested on a single assumption. That the jeweler is telling the truth about what is inside the piece. That when you pay for natural VVS stones, that is what you are getting. That the trust is real. There is no standardized verification process in this industry. No routine third-party certification that every stone and every grill must pass before leaving the shop. The whole ecosystem runs on relationships, on reputation, on the handshake between two people where one of them has all the knowledge and the other has all the money. And when that handshake allegedly gets exploited, the person who loses is always the artist. Johnny Dang's origin story is one of the most remarkable in American immigrant history. Arriving in Houston in 1996 with nothing. No English. No connections. No map. Working a flea market table with his brother making $100 a month. Opening TV jewelry in Sharpstown Mall in 1998. Partnering with Paul Wall in 2002 and getting a cosign that opened the door to the entire hip-hop ecosystem. Building relationships with Kanye West, Jay-Z, Beyonce, Lil Wayne, Cardi B, Travis Scott, Gucci, Mane, Migos, Rick Ross, Nicki Minaj, and dozens more. Getting a song literally named after him by that Mexican OT and Paul Wall in 2023. Appearing in Beyonce's No Angel video. From $100 a month at a flea market to millions of dollars every single month in a standalone flagship store near the Galleria with over 70 employees and 3 retail locations. That is a genuinely extraordinary story. It deserves respect. It deserves to be told honestly. And the AI deep fake attacks are real. That technology is being weaponized. Fox 26 confirmed it. The content that was spreading in 2025 and 2026 included fabricated videos using Dang's face and voice. Those content creators should face legal consequences if they can be identified. The defamation framework is legitimate on that specific issue. Both of those things are true. And this is also true. Plug Geo went on record in 2021, years before any of this, with specific technical allegations about what was going into pieces at Johnny Dang and Company. He put his name on it. He had inside access. He had nothing obvious to gain. He did it when there was no wave to ride and no trend to capitalize on. And that specific allegation has never received a direct, documented, transparent, on-record response. Not a TV appearance. Not a defamation threat. A direct response. With documentation. With certification records. With independent testing results from a verified third party. With a point-by-point rebuttal of what Plug Geo specifically claimed in 2021 that addresses the actual substance of what he said. Because that is what accountability actually looks like. Not a sympathetic interview. Not an attorney sitting on camera talking about lawsuits. Transparency. Documentation. Proof. 3 questions remain unanswered as this story continues to develop. Why has the specific CVD allegation made by a named former employee in 2021 never been addressed directly and on record with documentation? If the diamonds being sold as natural are in fact natural, what would it cost to prove it? Not with a TV interview. With certification documentation from an independent certified gemological laboratory on every high-value piece leaving that shop going forward. And what does this controversy mean for every artist in hip-hop culture who has spent hundreds of thousands of dollars at any major jeweler without ever asking for certification papers? Because the conversation Sauce Waka and Plug Geo started is not going away. Chief Keef testing his pieces publicly was not the end of something. It was the beginning of a new standard. The biggest question, the one that has been sitting unanswered since April 2021, deserves a real answer. Not because this is about destroying one man's legacy. Not because every viral post deserves to be taken at face value. But because every rapper who spent their hard-earned money at that shop, every athlete, every regular person who saved up for months to get something custom from the King of Bling, deserves to know the truth about what they are wearing around their neck. That is not hate. That is accountability. And accountability does not negotiate around your origin story, your celebrity clientele, or how many music videos you have appeared in. Real empires do not fall from questions. They fall from unanswered questions that fester. Drop your thoughts in the comments right now. Do you believe Johnny Dang is purely a victim here? The AI, the competition, all of it? Or do you think what Plug Geo said in 2021 deserves a direct response that we still have not gotten 5 years later? And what does this mean for every artist who spent serious money trusting a jeweler they never asked to verify? Subscribe right now and hit the notification bell. If this situation moves into legal territory, civil suits, independent certification requirements, or any law enforcement involvement, this channel will have the full breakdown the same night it happens. Every development documented and verified the moment it becomes public. Thanks for watching. If you had a good time, keep the adventure alive by clicking on one of the suggested videos on your screen right now for more amazing content.